Right. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Facebook friends and family. It is wonderful to be here with you today. I'm Tovi Scruggs-Hussein, COSEM president, along with Tracy Hilliers, who is founder and president as well. And we are living into her vision of having this international organization for educators all over to practice wellness, to practice mindfulness, to form communities that support wellness and mindfulness and this deeply transformational work. We are so honored that you've joined us today with our special guest, Maria Tan, and it is just an honor that she's in this space to grace us with her learning, her work, and how she is bringing her gifts into the world. We will begin before I formally introduce Maria with her bio by just taking a mindful moment. Let us just take an opportunity to get centered and align in this space. So I invite you to gaze down or close your eyes. And perhaps it's your first time being still today. And just take 3 deep breaths at your own pace. Following your in-breath and your out-breath. Being mindful of the in-breath, fully inhaling, having the stomach go out. And then on the out breath, exhaling and having the stomach go down. Just allowing yourself to follow that rhythm in a way and a pace that feels good for you. Just tracing your in-breath and out-breath. Breathing into your stomach as much as possible. Just taking this moment to be appreciative of stillness, to be appreciative of this sacred pause in your day or early evening to simply connect to self more fully. And giving gratitude for this space, a space of like-minded colleagues. And when you feel ready, I invite you to come back fully present, eyes open, cameras on if you're able. And just taking time to appreciate everyone in this space, the diversity, the presence of all of these beautiful faces. And if you're not able to be on camera, we know that you're in the space and you are definitely welcome here. We have Maria Tan with us, and she is the founder and director of House of Thriving, which empowers leaders across education, the arts, and organizations to thrive authentically and powerfully for those they serve. During her tenure as a New York City public school teacher, Maria led a school-wide shift towards equitable practices that incorporated restorative circles, racial affinity groups, and trauma-informed mindfulness, reaching hundreds of adults and students. Equally critical, Maria discovered the importance of tending to self-restoration and healing in service of authentically supporting others. Embodying this through Thriving Teacher Project, Maria designs and facilitates workshops and community building experiences focused on mindfulness, social emotional learning, and collective healing as cornerstones of thriving. Maria's restorative and contemplative approach equips others with a critical skill and the tools to cultivate critical reflection and reconnect to their sense of wholeness. We are so, again, honored to have you here, Maria. I always give a personal connection of some sort, and I was introduced to Maria a few years ago with her work in a program at Stanford University, and one of her mentors and coaches connected us. Sharon Parker says hello. I was just with her this weekend, Maria, telling her I was going to be with you. And she's like, one of my favorite people in the whole world, right? So she sends her love from retirement and misses you greatly. And but we connected when Maria was making this transition from public education into following this passion project that is really celebrating her gifts and what she's bringing to the field of education. And so we are just thrilled that you're going to share with us and be with us today. So anything you want to say as we get started before I ask you a few questions that we traditionally ask all of our guests?
Oh, yes. First of all, thank you for that beautiful introduction, that beautiful articulation of my bio. And thank you everyone for being here. It's so great to see your faces, your names. And also, I just got so excited when you said Sharon Parker. I mean, it's been a while since I've talked to her, and that was just such a beautiful surprise to bring her into the space. So thank you for doing that, Tovi. And I send my regards. I'll be sure to reach out to her as well.
She'd love that. She'd love that. Wow. So we ask everyone the first intro question because we know that mindfulness practices, there are so many, and there are more and more coming into the fold of being more mainstream. And if you visit COSEM's website, you'll be able to see so many people bringing in different forms of meditation. So I like to ask everyone, what is your personal mindfulness practice? How did you come to have your personal mindfulness practice? What does it look like for you? Just so we continue to reaffirm for folks that it can look different for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And my mindfulness journey does look very different from where it started to where I am now. And I started practicing mindfulness in around 2013. Honestly, from following synchronicities. I don't really share that with folks, but it feels appropriate to share that I just noticed that there were so many synchronicities in my life, and that there was something really, it was calling me towards something greater and something spiritual. So that was in 2013. And then in 2017, I stumbled upon Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, be specific. And I sort of took a deep dive. It was my 23rd birthday, and I was teaching at that time. I was a high school teacher in New York, and I was really just stressed out, burnt out, all of the above. And I'm like, I need to treat myself for my birthday. So I took a deep dive. I went to a sound bath. I went to a guided meditation. And that's where I met my teacher, who was a Buddhist monk for 21 years, Venerable Punsak. He's based out of Brooklyn now. And that meditation, I really experienced touching what I call my wholeness. And someone asked me a question recently, which was, who is someone that exemplifies wholeness to you? And I shared my teacher. I said, my teacher, Venerable Punsak, exemplifies that for me, not because I was looking at his wholeness and I was inspired by it, but he taught me how to touch and excavate my own. And he also taught me that with meditation, you're not, it's imagine a room, and we're not adding anything to the room. We're simply just cleaning the room. And what arises and emerges at the end is this clear mind, which I like to think of as our inner wholeness. So that was, yeah, I was practicing Tibetan Buddhism for a couple of years, really heavy into that practice. And, you know, I go through seasons. So I think this speaks to the flexibility of mindfulness practices today. I go through seasons where sometimes it supports me to sit for an hour a day. And then I also go through seasons where sometimes I just take a few deep breaths a couple times a day. And right now, what I'm practicing is getting really familiar with my own nervous system and the way I react and respond. And I find that that's my work for me right now in this season. And I like to play a little game where whenever I'm feeling a little triggered or I'm feeling activated, I try to find what feels good in my body. And usually it's some area around here in the heart center, like to tap in and drop in there. But if that's not feeling great that day, sometimes I just focus on my hands. My hands usually feel great. So it really does vary. And yeah, you know, I think keeping it simple for me right now is what works.
I love that. What's working for right now is keeping it simple. And that really resonates because there's so, we're not out of the pandemic. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's over and whatnot. And I've been sitting lately with the question, what is the impact? You know, I think we're at a different place of observing the nervous system and starting to see, you know, what are the impacts and the effects of what we've been going through now that we can be in a different place than where we were going through it. Where are we now? And I've been starting to pay more attention to feeling, what are those feelings in a sense of post-pandemic, and linking that to epigenetics. You know, what are we going to be passing down? What are we passing down to our children, the generations to come from this lived experience? And when we look at epigenetics, we see that from effects of the Holocaust, from the slave trade, from Japanese internment, there's definitely things that we pass down culturally, communally, even ethnic culturally. So that's even a different culture than even what's in America. What are we passing down? So that's been really top of mind for me. I'm curious if you were to think about the wholeness that we're restoring ourselves to. How do you cultivate your resilience? How are you cultivating your wholeness? When I think, if you can use the lens a bit of where we're shifting in this tide of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
How does, and I know that's a little bit different than the question I sent to you.
That's all right. We're dancing.
Yes.
And yeah, just taking a moment to really sit with what you shared, and that impact. And the beautiful thing about that, about epigenetics and what I've been learning so far, not an expert, but that the trauma can be passed down, I think it's 7 generations into the future. And the work and the healing that we do now heals the future. And it also, if you think of it in this way, if you're healing yourself now, you're sort of evolving your lineage and almost like healing your past. So it's like a past, present, future, all now moment type phenomenon, which I think is really fascinating. And that does, that does tie into how I cultivate my resilience and my wholeness. I've done a lot of generational trauma and healing work with myself and my two brothers. I have two older brothers. And that's actually been a focus for our family for the last year. And we plan to write a book about it sometime in the future, which is being written now, if you think of it too. But yeah, really, I don't want to go too far down that lane, but cultivating my resilience now, like I mentioned earlier, befriending my nervous system. I'm starting to also notice times in 2020, like certain time frames in 2020 that almost repeat themselves now. So I'll say that in another way. In 2020, sitting in isolation around this time, I was recovering from COVID. My roommate was recovering from COVID. We lived in New York City. It was madness. There was no supplies, Tylenol, vitamin C, anything. And I can almost feel that tone from April 2020 as the seasons come, as the energies move, and just being grateful, like practicing gratitude that we made it through that. And, even 2021, practicing gratitude for everything that we've been through, everything that we've learned, allowing ourselves to grieve what we lost, but also really being grateful for what we still have. So I hope that made sense. But it's as if the seasons remind me of the times through 2020 and 2021. And now that we're sort of coming out of it and having that hindsight, I can really practice gratitude.
Beautiful. And gratitude is a powerful resilience practice. And it's interesting that you're naming this remembering of April 2020. I swear on everything, I woke up this morning thinking about December 2019, January 2020, February 2020, and not being well in that time, and things already starting to happen. I remember using the term, wow, I just feel sick as a dog. And I've never said that before, but it wasn't even a thing, right? It wasn't even a thing. And I was coming back from Canada. And, but just really to have that thought this morning, and just to hear that you're also reflecting on, okay, where was I this month in 2020? And I'm just curious, can we get any reactions from folks who are kind of having that experience too recently, of thinking about the timing of the seasons? If you can give a reaction or just make a comment in the chat even, or maybe it's just me and Maria. All right. All right. Thank you, Carrie. So it's good to know that we're not alone, not alone. And part of the invitation too, I think, in this overall healing work and this equity conversation of the space that we hold, is being really present to what is, being really present to what is, and making that okay. And I think that's going to be part of our healing experience, that people are going to be in different places. It's still very real, I think, for the education sector, that we can't slow down yet. We haven't slowed down to even really be with some of the depth that we're talking about, right? We're okay, but not okay. Exactly. And what does that look like? And, last summer, teachers didn't really get a summer. Educators didn't get a summer last summer. And so I was even reflecting, like, hopefully this summer is going to be that summer where the nervous system will get to decompress more and relax into that space of a little bit of predictability, a little bit more certainty. And that is my hope too, Carrie, because it's just been this nonstop wear and tear on the nervous system and on our psyches in so many ways, and for different communities. So Maria is going to have time to share with us, as we love to hear from these leaders in the field that spend their time with us in a mini lesson. So she's going to get an opportunity, and I don't want to steal any thunder, so we're just going to learn a few different frameworks, see what she's up to, and learn from her. So Maria, please take it away.
Oh, thank you, Tovi. Yes, and I am just looking at the chat and hearing you all. Yeah, thank you for acknowledging all of that, Tovi. So yes, I am excited to share this short mini lesson. I'll have a short video at the top, also a short activity in breakout rooms at the end, and also a short contemplative practice. And I just want to provide some framing that I'm going to show a short video which talks about healing. And I invite you, with the video and the framework, to listen for yourself. To listen for, where do I hear myself in this? Or where is this maybe missing in my life that I think it could really contribute to me? So as Sean Ginwright calls it, switching from a lens to a mirror, pivoting from a lens to a mirror. As educators, as leaders, we are so awesome at analyzing. And I say that with love and affinity. And I invite you for tonight to try to see things through this mirror concept, reflecting on yourself and where you are in your journey. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Can I just get a thumbs up? Awesome. Okay, this is a short clip from Dr. Fania Davis.
What you're doing is just amazing, because history is asking us to become healers. History is asking us. We are so good at causing harm at every level. We are experts at that. And it's become clear on every level, ecologically, socially, on every level, that if we don't learn to become healers, all of us, not just the acupuncturists and not just the medical doctors and not just those who heal the human body, but history is asking all of us to become healers wherever we are. So I want to thank you for answering history's call so that we will have a future for the 7 generations to come. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I love how that ties in with the earlier part of this conversation, Tovi.
What you're doing is...
Excuse me. Okay, so part of the work I do is with Thriving Teacher Project. And can you still see my screen? Let me just get a thumbs up. You see a framework? Okay, awesome. So for 5.5 years, I was a public school teacher in New York, as Tovi shared earlier. And I didn't actually truly start to feel like a teacher until my 2nd or 3rd year. And I'll share why. I actually didn't have I felt as though I didn't have any agency over my own well-being, my own social emotional learning, because I wasn't being taught this or taking the initiative to learn this anywhere. So I was just at the effect of day-to-day, what it meant to be a teacher in New York, at the effect of systems that were inequitable, And it wasn't until I started to be a cause in the matter of my own healing and well-being that I really truly started to step into myself and step into the distinction of educator. And I noticed that every year I did feel as though I was on the edge of burnout. I was stressed out. I was dealing with um, undiagnosed autoimmune conditions. And it wasn't until, excuse me, sorry, I'm going to pause, take a moment. A little nervousness. Okay, it's passed. It wasn't the students that were burning me out. The students are the best part, always. But it was the things within me that weren't healed. It was internalized voicelessness, suppressed anger, family trauma. And these things weren't being healed, and they were being exacerbated by a system that wasn't designed to support healing. So I finally started to take thriving and well-being, rest, my spiritual practice, health, nutrition. I actually started to take those things seriously. And as I mentioned, it wasn't until I actually did that that I truly started to step into my full self and step into the distinction of educator. So I created this framework from my own experience, from my me search, people like to say. And it has 3 pillars: contemplative-based resilience and inquiry, social emotional learning, and collective healing. And I invite us to look at and start at the bottom at contemplative-based resilience and inquiry. And what this means simply is just slowing down, being present, and cultivating presence. And when I say presence, I mean we are present and sensing. That we're present, we're feeling ourselves, we're feeling the moment, we're feeling the others that we're in relation with. And there's a ton of science that says, mindfulness can help us increase focus and productivity, yada, yada. But I think what's really important is that it can help us access deeper parts of the brain that allow us to regulate, that allow us to heal, that allow us to cultivate compassion, empathy, and hope. And with practice, it becomes a place where we can resource ourselves, moment to moment. And that's what I did. I leaned on my contemplative practice to resource myself in the most challenging times as a teacher, where I was facing my own internal traumas and wounds, sometimes bringing them into the classroom, but oftentimes just dealing with them in silence. So I invite you to think, to contemplate, how might mindfulness, slowing down, contemplative-based inquiry, how might that support you in being with yourself, being with the moment, being with what is, as Tovi shared, and engaging in deeper work that often requires things like resistance, refusal, and resilience. And when we can cultivate this contemplative-based resilience and inquiry, we can take this awareness and begin to spread it to others. Again, presence is present and sensing. So we can actually cultivate a generative social field with others. And from this place, we can address conditions that don't work and create conditions to practice and teach pro-social skills, what many of us know as social emotional learning. Things like teamwork, collaboration, understanding multiple viewpoints, and forgiveness, compassion, vulnerability. And I truly believe that if we teach teachers social emotional learning, not as something that they need to put in a lesson plan, have in their curriculum, but something that they actually practice with each other, And if we do that through a healing centered and restorative lens, we give educators the tools to process their own emotions and their own experiences. And they can do this for students in an embodied way. And I think if we make this the focus of an educator's growth and development and training, that'll have a really powerful impact in education. So I invite you to think, how are you honoring your own lived experiences as an educator to co-create those conditions for thriving with your coworkers, your community, with your students? And when we have a fertile ground for social emotional learning, I think that builds the foundation for collective healing. As Tovi mentioned, the last 2 years have really taught us our fragility, our resilience, and our deep interconnection. And activist and artist Lila Watson says, "Your liberation is bound up in mine." So if we have an experience of individual healing, this impacts those around us. When we heal, those around us get to heal. We can hold each other's pain, we can hold each other's joy, and that has a healing effect. And from that place, we can become the clearing to cause each other, to spark each other, to spark empowerment, to spark innovation. So I invite you to think, how are we helping ourselves, our educators, step into a greater sense of wholeness and self-expression so that they can model this for the students they teach and the communities they work with? I'll pause here for a moment. And we're going to do a short contemplative practice. So wherever you are, I invite you to just settle into your chair. If you want to turn your camera off, that's fine. I'm going to leave mine on. And if it's comfortable for you, if it works for you in this moment to close your eyes, you may gently do so. And I invite you to just simply notice what is arising within you, what is alive for you in this moment. Maybe you can actually feel it in the body. I invite you to cultivate a gentle awareness to whatever feels alive for you in the moment. And gently bring your awareness to the breath. Noticing the in-breath, noticing the out-breath. Perhaps noticing that moment right between the in-breath and the out-breath. Spending a few moments here. And when it feels comfortable for you, slowly blinking open your eyes, reconnecting to your surroundings, reconnecting to the Zoom group. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that with you. I would love to hear, I know we have Q&A at the end, and I would also love to hear if there's anything top of mind that anyone wants to share, something that resonated with them, maybe a question. Then we're going to do a short breakout room practice. You can also type it in the chat if that works better for you.
I can share.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Carrie, and I really loved the clip that you showed, particularly the part where the speaker mentioned being called to heal. And I feel that very deeply. In that there was a calling to educate, and then there's been a shift in that calling for me personally towards healing. And a lot of it is realizing how much I need to do interiorly before I can even begin to impact. But I already know that by doing the work, I am impacting. So it becomes this wonderful, like, continual reinforcement that the healing is necessary and it is going to make an impact regardless.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Carrie, for sharing. I can really resonate with that. And I'm just sending so much energy to you on that journey. And I'm grateful for the work that you're doing, the inner work and the outer work that you're doing. I'll leave a few more seconds if anyone else wants to share. Okay, so, oh, Tovi, were you motioning something?
I was communicating with someone who said they had to go. And
Oh.
so I was...
Okay, so we're going to do a short breakout room practice. Tracy will put us in breakout rooms of 2 or 3 people, and we understand that some of you may be driving or cooking dinner. So if it doesn't work for you to participate in the breakout room, that's totally fine. But this is an exercise on acknowledgement. So the research on burnout says that one of the pillars, if you will, of burnout, or one of the causes of burnout, is a lack of acknowledgement. So we're going to be in breakout rooms and we're just going to straight up acknowledge each other. So partner A, if you're in a room of 3, they'll be, just take turns. Sorry, this was for if there were breakout rooms of 2. The first person will go and they'll share what they want to be acknowledged for. And then the other partners will acknowledge that person for what they want to be acknowledged for. Then you'll switch until everyone gets acknowledged. And then with the remaining time, you'll share how that experience was for you. So I would love to actually model this with someone, maybe Tracy or Tovi, whoever wants to do this with me.
Sure.
Tracy, all right. What would you like to be acknowledged for?
I'd like to be acknowledged for, sorry, I forgot I was gonna have to share right away.
Take your time.
I would like to be acknowledged for the many facets of my whole self.
Okay. Tracy, I want to acknowledge you for the many facets of your whole self and all of the people in your life that get to experience all of those facets and the ways you contribute to everyone through all of them and how they come together and make your beautiful self.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so are there any questions about this activity? You have any questions, you can just come off mute or put it in the chat.
Yeah, and if you can't participate, don't necessarily pop out of the meeting, because we'll be back in 5 minutes and then you can join in again. So I might be switching people around depending on who's jumping into the big breakout room. So if I happen to switch you, that just meant that maybe you were the only one in a breakout room, so I put you into a different one.
Tracy, Emily, and Araceli are not able to be in breakout rooms. Just flagging that for you.
Thank you. And one more thing I'll pop in before we go in breakout rooms is if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, it's totally okay. Just remember that acknowledgement is free and it is abundant. So just whatever comes to mind, you can share. Okay.
Anissa or Ruth or Jodeci, do you want to be in a room?
I'll switch Linda into room 2.
Okay. It's looking good.
Yeah. Oh, let me put the timer.
It is totally okay, Jodeci. We are thrilled to have you in the space. And so many people listen to this like a podcast, so it's all good. Ruth, do you want to be in a room? Maybe it says not able to join right now. Okay, we're good. Not now. Got it. Okay, thank you. For our Facebook family, people are in breakout rooms right now, just for a few more minutes, probably about 3 more minutes, and then we'll be back to resume the rest of our conversation. In the meantime, please know that there are several ways to support and contribute to the COSEM community. Araceli, Tracy is supporting that right now. For our COSEM family who's listening in, we have Commit to 1%, which was a push that we just did for SCL Day and SCL month and week, because we're all about SCL around here. And committing to 1% is simply giving 10 minutes of your day to yourself, where you are practicing mindfulness. You can also continue to support the book. You can start a book club in your own community, school, or site, or simply have the book yourself, Educating Mindfully, Stories of School Transformation Through Mindfulness. You can also start a COSEM chapter or practice group. That is always an ongoing process. We have a wonderful chapter leader, Lindsay Frank, who is just outstanding at supporting the chapter leaders in having thriving chapters as we continue to spread this work across the nation and throughout the world. Also, your donations are always appreciated and supported. And appreciated regardless of the amount. So don't worry about that. And we're always accepting because we are a nonprofit organization. Most recently, there was a newsletter sent out. If you're not on our e-list, please sign up. There are lots of independent workshops happening throughout the month of April and May that our newsletter is highlighting for your own wellness and for your own growth. And then finally, our next equity convo is May 16th. And that will be with yours truly. And Tracy, of course, will be in the spot. And I will be doing some teaching that day. And again, we're absolutely thrilled to have you. And if you wanted to see, since we have a few more moments, I will simply do a quick screen share on some of what was highlighted there. Again, there are other activities that you can find through the COSEM newsletter, and our next equity conversation is happening May 16th. So please support COSEM, support the book, and continue to help us grow this wonderful community that is supporting educators worldwide.
I'm going to let everybody know there's a minute left in just a second. You want to leave up that screen while people are popping in at least?
I will do that. Let me know when you close the rooms and then I'll put it back up.
10 more seconds.
I've never done a commercial like that for us.
Oh,
I felt good to not have to rush because it was at the very end. I just like, let me just talk through.
Well, maybe I have to make a clip out of that one.
Oh, Lord.
All right, I'm saying a minute left. I'm letting everybody know a minute left. And I'm going to close all the rooms so they know they have a minute.
Okay. So let me put that up as folks are coming back. And I'll see when the room is closed. I'll just pull it down right when folks get all in.
And Araceli, I had put you into room 7. I'm sorry if it didn't work to get in there. I think I got confused on who wasn't able to go into a room. I think I maybe thought it was Anissa.
All right, everyone will be back in just about 2 seconds. All right. Welcome back, everyone. We'll have some debrief time with Maria, so I turn it back over to her.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'd love to open up the floor and hear any reflections, how that activity was for you, if it was pleasant, unpleasant. We welcome all of it.
I can say, Maria, how striking that small exercise is in its power. I feel better, like just having had those few moments, but also it's a chance to acknowledge some commonalities and the things that we're all handling, and that was really unexpected and lovely too. So thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing, Cheryl. Very pleasant and eye-opening. I see that in the chat.
My experience was pretty good. I had Linda and Mary in my group, and it's nice to hear just like little bits of reassurance from people that I don't know. I get it a lot from the people that are around me, but then having people that I don't know kind of just like give me that little like bit of push. I just talked about how I was in school and that was kind of stressing me out, and that I'm just doing the best I can, even though sometimes the best I can do isn't what I want it to be. So just seeing that I'm doing the best I can, it's nice having people tell me that I don't always have to be perfect and I don't have to meet everyone else's expectations. I just need to meet my own sometimes.
Thank you. Just want to do a quick time check, Tovi or Tracy. How much time until?
We have
We have
10 minutes and we just need like a minute or two to do a little closing, put a bow on it.
Okay. I wasn't sure if we were going to circle back to more questions.
we would like to do that but again, this final 10 minutes is also for you, absolutely. But there might be some questions in the space. I am also signing off, folks. I'm double booked back to back. So this is the perfect time for me to turn over to my beautiful co-host, Tracy. And thank you again, Maria. And I can't wait to connect again. And thank you all, COSEM community, for joining us. I will see you all in May.
Hi, Tovi. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, are there any questions for Maria? Or maybe you'd like to share an exercise that you've shared with your community that has maybe similar impacts?
Can I ask a question, Maria?
Yeah.
Is that an exercise you suggest that educators do with each other on a regular basis, or is that something you would just preserve for your workshops? Or how do you find it useful?
Yeah, great question. My answer to that is experiment and see how it goes. As you could see, it's pretty low lift. The directions are pretty straightforward as well. And I think if not everyone was able to do the exercise. So if you have space to do that at your site or wherever you work, I really encourage that you experiment with it. And then debrief and get data. How was that for people? Do you want to do this again? Yeah.
I felt like it almost could be something where you could do a reflection even beforehand, which we kind of did. You gave everybody a minute and they saw how we did it. But yeah, I jumped right in there and I was like, oh, I really need to touch base with myself. What first came up in my mind, like that I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to share that out with the whole big group, or that maybe I would have shared something else with that breakout group that wasn't going to be on Facebook. So yeah, I definitely think, because I know you originally wanted to do it just with 2 people, so yeah, I definitely kind of know why you chose like a smaller group to do an activity like this.
Yeah, and thank you for jumping up to model. I know there was no preparing for that, so thank you, Tracy. But yeah, if you plan to do this with other folks, definitely model it. That's what I would have to say about that. And someone in my breakout room highlighted how they noticed the mirror aspect of it and how it calls for deep reflection. And Tracy's pointing to that too, like, oh, I have to look, I have to check, what do I want to be acknowledged for? So all of this that I shared with you this evening and all of the work that I do, I used to ask the question, how do I do this? And how to have a top-down approach at our school? And how can we, get leadership on board? And just all of these questions. And what I'm really sitting with now is, how can we adopt an inside-out approach? How can we do that inner work, even if it's a small exercise like acknowledgement, that can slowly start to shift us from lens to mirror, as Sean Jin Wright says. It's a short pivot from lens to mirror.
Yeah. And I know you used to be is it chemistry, science teacher?
Yes. I
So
taught
yeah.
chemistry, biology, IB biology, living environment, sometimes all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. Any activities that you found helpful once you started bringing this into your classroom, or, you know, once you had learned some, maybe a tip or two for, because a lot of teachers feel like there is no time to do
Yeah.
this, but it's often just different things to get the class centered and going.
Yeah, I practice mindfulness with my students every day, every class, and I just made sure to make time for it. Students, you know, at first they think it's kind of weird and not really sure what we're doing, but over time, you know, I'd have students that if they ever thought I was going to miss a mindful moment, they would be like, where's our mindful minute? Or they'd often ask for mindful hours, mindful field trips, mindful weeks. But, you know, as a science teacher, I would intentionally also link the science of the breath with mindfulness. And I would also sometimes jazz it up and, you know, talk about the interconnection of the in-breath and the out-breath and humans and trees. So I think there's a lot of space, especially with science, if anyone is the science teacher here, to link science and mindfulness. Is anyone a science teacher here? No.
Maybe in our last 4 minutes, you could share something that's coming up that you're looking forward to, or that you, or maybe if anybody else also has something coming up. I know Cheryl does, I know Carrie does, to share those in the chat. And COSEM, I know in the bio, the word self-restoration really resonated with me. So actually this month and in May, instead of calling our self-care sessions, I'm like, I'm just gonna mix it up and call it self-restoration session. So next Wednesday, if you can join us for a self-restoration session with William Drew. He's the new CEO of International Kids Yoga Association. And save the date, they're having their next Kids Yoga Conference on November 5th and 6th. And you can go to kidsyogaconference.com. And Maria, where can we find you at?
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity to share. I am teaching a course that starts next week called the Healing Centered Education Primer course with Dr. Angel Acosta, who was a guest, I think, 2 sessions ago. And registration is still open. That's a course where we'll take a deep dive into the healing centered turn and the paradigm and how it's emerged and how different leaders are bringing it forth, and also how to identify where it already exists in your life and to amplify it. And also my website is there. You can find like my Instagram and email and contact and all that stuff.
Wonderful. And I know Cheryl, the Peace of Mind community is there April 7th. So is that Thursday?
It's Thursday. I just put a little link in the chat.
Yeah.
You're all very welcome.
Because that's a social justice themed event. Who will be
So
sharing?
Peace of Mind is where the focus of the conversation will be on mindfulness for social justice in elementary school. And we'll be hearing from Linda Ryden, who's the founder of Peace of Mind, and Sarita MacArthur, who's a social justice educator and 3rd grade teacher. And we'll talk a little bit about the Peace of Mind social justice curriculum. It's geared at, elementary grades 3 through 5. So that's happening. And I think one of the things we'll be talking about is this critical importance of doing your interior work before trying to bring these lessons to our children. And I really, really appreciate, Maria, everything that you've shared and the work that you're doing. And I feel really lifted up to sort of move into that event. So thank you so much. And I look forward to learning more about what you do.
Thank you so much.
Maria, do you want to close us out with a few breaths and
Yes.
then we'll all go on to have a wonderful rest of the evening.
Yes. We'll just take 3 collective breaths together. If it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, you may do so. I'm going to keep my camera on. And just allow yourself to sense into the pause of this moment. Sense into the natural rhythm of the breath. And together we'll take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathing in, filling the lungs all the way down to the belly. And exhaling through the mouth. Feeling your shoulders drop. Breathing in through the nose, filling the lungs. And exhaling through the mouth. Feeling a sense of release. And one more nice deep breath in. And full exhale out. Allow your breath to return to you naturally. And take this final moment to say something you're grateful for silently to yourself. And when you're ready, slowly blinking open your eyes. Slowly rejoining the group.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Maria. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you
evening.
so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for being here.